On episode 558 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet Hilary Topper and discuss her book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/558. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness, the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. Each week, we dive deep into health and fitness topics that affect those of us over 40. I'm Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with specializations in corrective exercise, behavior change, and fitness nutrition, a FAI certified functional aging specialist, and an OTA Level 2 online trainer. I'm joined each week by our co-host, Rachel Everett. She is an NASM certified personal trainer and a RRCA Level 1 run coach. Let us be your coaches as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right? Let's go. What's keeping you from losing weight, improving your health, and getting more fit? You start out great, and then bam, something comes along and derails you. Your diet was going great, but that birthday cake on Saturday fired up your sweet tooth. Or you were working out every day and you hurt your foot. Your doctor told you to keep off of it for 6 weeks. Those 6 weeks have come and gone and you're still keeping off of it. But deep down, you know it's not the cake or the injury to blame, right? It's a mindset block. And like an invisible wall, each and every time you make progress, you inevitably backslide. Until you address your health blocker, you won't see the success you want and need. That's why I created a quiz to help you diagnose your health blocker. It's absolutely free at 40plusfitness.com/quiz. Take the free What's Your Health Blocker quiz at 40plusfitness.com/quiz. Hey, Russ, how you doing?
Good, Alan. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. A little
Good.
shaken, not stirred.
Yeah. Good.
I'm on vacation in Puerto Vallarta, and so I landed on Monday, and got an Uber, which is a little bit of an ordeal because they don't want them at the airport, so you have to leave the airport and go somewhere else. So the Uber that's fine; it's not that far, but Uber picks me up. We're driving back to the hotel, and this dude just runs out in front of the car. I mean, our Uber almost hits him. If it would not been like a neighborhood kind of area with the resorts and all the houses, he would definitely hit this guy because he just ran out in front of us. And then he's yelling frantically, there's an earthquake, and in Spanish, but he's yelling, there's an earthquake. I'm like, okay. Wow. And so the car literally was bouncing up and down, sideways to sideways. Like,
oh my goodness.
And so, it did that for about 5 minutes. And then everybody's standing out in the road, standing around. So then finally people start moving out of the road. My driver's like, okay, let's go. He drives me to the hotel. And of course, everybody at the resort, they're all out and on the street. And I walk in and they're like, you can't go inside right now, be a little while. They said 5 minutes, but it ended up being like 45 minutes. But so we're standing out there and this woman is just distraught. Because a lot of people seemed more emotionally affected by this than, and everybody's got their emotion things and their buttons. And so something scares them. And suddenly, again, a lot of things flare up in them and it's personal. But this was not that. Her husband was stuck in the building.
Oh.
Because he was not capable of walking down the stairs.
Oh, no.
And she was.
Mm-hmm.
So she walked down the stairs and told the staff that he was up there. They sent 2 guys up. So she had already, at this point, when I got there, she had already been standing out there for over 5 minutes. And, another 15, 20 minutes goes past without him coming down. And so she's just beside herself, sure. and so I kind of took from her mannerisms in the conversation that she saw me as someone who was physically capable, and she wanted me to go in there and bring her husband down. So I walk up to the guy. I walk up, and the guy's like, we're not letting anyone in the building. And I'm like, okay. And then I said, is there anything going on there? Because, it's a guy. And it's like, yeah, we got 2 guys going up there. Okay. So I go back to her and I say, okay, look, the 2 guys are okay. They're just not down yet. But it was just kind of that moment when you sit there and you say, one, I would never want to do that to my spouse. And two, I would not want to be the spouse that couldn't help my significant other get where they needed to be. Okay. So when we start talking about fitness and we start talking about all this stuff, the reality of it is you've got to be fit to be the person that you want to be. And you got to start working on that now.
Yeah.
These folks were probably not even into their 70s.
Wow.
And he literally, he could walk. I saw him yesterday at the pool. He's fine. But he could walk along the edge of the pool, supporting himself by the side of the pool. So even in pool water that was up to almost his chest, he still needed to support himself with the side of the pool. And she had to help him get out of the pool.
Wow.
So one rail and then her to get out of the pool. And I'm just like, dude, I know you're old. I know this is a struggle, but you got to get stronger. You got to get stronger. You can't put your wife through that again. I didn't say that out loud. That was one of those internal thoughts that you kind of have as you're sitting there. It's like, just don't do that. I would never I don't want to do that. So, if you're thinking about reasons why you need to do this, that you might have to take care of someone else, or you definitely don't want them to have to take care of you. Sure. And on that same kind of note, I'm on this summit that's about optimal health and longevity. It's going to be coming out in about a week from now when this episode goes live. And so if you'll go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/optimum, that's going to take you to a sign up page to view that. It's like 21 health and fitness experts talking about ways to improve your health, to improve your longevity. And I'm on it. So it's got to be awesome.
That sounds great.
So 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/optimum. Okay. And it's going to kick off in about 6 days from now. I think this goes out the 4th. So it's going to come out on the 10th. I don't know what day my episode is. As soon as I know that, I'll let you know. But it's free and it's, some great content. If you're looking at improving your health and longevity, go check it out.
That sounds great. Congratulations, Alan. It sounds like a fun summit to be involved with.
Yeah. The interview was great. The host, Yoli, she's cool. And it was a really good conversation. And I shared some tidbits. I actually even shared that story. So you'll have probably a little bit more information than they even had. But it is that kind of that concept of let's not get old. Let's get young old. Okay.
Sure.
So how are things up there?
Well, we've done a lot in the last week, Alan. Since I spoke with you last, my life turned upside down and it has since righted itself again. But we had COVID again enter our home, actually for the first time. My son and husband were away on a weekend traveling and they brought home COVID. I caught it. And it was really kind of interesting. My son felt like a cold, fluish kind of feeling. He didn't have it too bad. And the doctors didn't think he needed any additional treatments or anything. I got it even more mild. I only had a sore throat. So I'm grateful to have such mild symptoms for this weird disease. But my husband got hit hard. It hit him hard. And it's because, as I've mentioned to the listeners in the past, he's right in the middle of taking chemotherapy and immunotherapy for kidney cancer. So his body was already pretty frail because of the chemo to begin with. And so when he got COVID, it just knocked him right off his feet. So his oncologist gave him the Paxlovid that a lot of people are taking, and it worked really fast. It's a 5-day regimen. And within a couple of days, he felt back to his normal chemo self. And
yeah, so he went from a 0.5 to a 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, chemo is no joke either. It's, he's had good days and bad days, but fighting cancer and COVID at the same time, it was a huge nightmare. He was just in a really bad space and it was really scary for the both of us. But since we've made it through, we're all three of us are feeling healthy again, pretty much back to normal. And we had a visit with our oncologist. He's doing fine. He's back on his chemo regimen as usual. So that's what we're doing. So it was crazy, but now back to normal. And it's good to be through it all. Thank goodness it's over.
Yeah. And let Mike know I've got him in my thoughts.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, are you ready to talk to Hilary?
Sure.
Our guest today is a 30-year public relations veteran. She runs both HJMT Public Relations Inc., a full service public relations and social media agency, and HJMT Media Company, where she curates 2 blogs and a podcast. In addition, she is an adjunct professor at Hofstra University, where she teaches digital communications and public relations classes to undergraduate and graduate students. Besides the book From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete that we're going to talk about today, she has written 2 other books: Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Social Media and Branding in a Digital World. In her spare time, she trains for endurance events, including triathlons. She is a Level 1 USA certified coach, a Galloway certified running coach, and a certified personal trainer. She runs an international triathlon team, We Are Endurance, and she has a local running club where she meets weekly with her members. With no further ado, here is Hilary Topper. Hilary, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you so much, Alan, for having me.
Now, today we're going to talk about your book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete. And I think many of us can kind of relate to that couch potato life and how difficult it is to basically get out of that couch and make some things happen. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about this book, because it talks about your story of how you did this. And this is not something you did when you were 20 or 30. You were over 40 years old. So you're speaking our love language, doing this when you're not the young buck, out there doing these things. And you didn't just play around. You're a triathlete. So this is some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, so I started running at 48, which, I mean, for me, my motivation was I was working all the time. I had my own business, small business. I was putting in those 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I was going to cocktail party after cocktail party, and I needed to change my life. I wasn't happy. Even though the business was doing really well, I wasn't happy. So I needed to make a change. And I joined New York Sports Club and I hired a personal trainer. And my first entree into this sport was to step onto a treadmill. And I looked at this thing and I was like, wow, I don't know what to do. Could somebody help me? So I asked a couple of people and they turned it on for me and I started walking, and that was my first step into it, and then from there I started to run a little bit, and gradually it took several months, but I ran a mile and then I took it outside, and I just took it little by little. It's like one step in front of the other, basically.
Yeah, there's a runner's mantra that's, just put one foot in front of the other until the race is over. Now there was one thing in your book that I have to ask, because people put Easter eggs in their books all the time, and I love finding these things. You're going to have to tell me the story about you crashing Woody Allen's New Year's Eve party.
So I was 17 years old, and my friends and I, there were two of us, so there were 3 altogether. We saw an article in the New York Post, and the New York Post, it said that Woody Allen was having this New Year's Eve party. It was the year 1979, and he was having it at the Harkness House in New York City. And we did some research and we found out that Donald Bruce White was the caterer. And I called up the Harkness House and I said, can I tour around the facility? I want to make a surprise party for my parents' 25th anniversary. And they said, sure. So they took the 3 of us and we toured around, and we got back on the train back to Long Island, and we started drawing out a schematic of the whole entire place, like where the kitchen was, where the party would take place, where the shower room was. And that December 31st, 1979, the 3 of us, we dressed up as caterers with our clothes under tinfoil trays, and we walked into the Harkness house and said we were with the caterer. They let us in. And as soon as the coast was clear, we jetted down to the basement and we hid there for 8 hours. Now, if this happened today, it wouldn't have happened, right? But back then it was a little bit less secure. And we stayed there for 8 hours. And then as soon as we heard the party start, we changed our clothes, went upstairs to the party, and we met and mingled with all the famous people of the day, like Mick Jagger, Robin Williams, Mia Farrow, Diane Keaton. I mean, you name it, everybody was there, and it was so exciting for us. And what happened was, at midnight, we're having champagne and caviar with all these celebrities. And I don't know why they didn't say, like, who are you? Nobody ever asked us who we were. But at the end of it, we went downstairs. I kissed Woody Allen's cheek and said, "Thank you, Mr. Allen, for inviting us." And he looked at me like, "Who is this woman? And who are these kids? And what are they doing here?" And we left our clothes downstairs in the shower room. We left. We were screaming down Fifth Avenue. I mean, it was just insane. And we got to my friend's apartment on McDougal Street, and we went up there. He was in college. The two of us were in high school at the time. And so we went up there, and I called the New York Post right away. And they said, "Well, how do we know that this is true?" And I said, "Well, our clothes are down in the shower room." So they checked it out. And the next thing we know, we had a cover story on the New York Post saying teens crash Woody's bash. And we were also in Newsday and a local paper. And there was a famous, we used to love this one station. It was an alternative station called WLIR Radio. So we were on there too. And that was our story. And that's basically how I became a publicist, because I figured if I could do it for me, I could do it for other people.
That's pretty cool. Now, you had a concept in the book that I think was really critical for a lot of people, because they see something in front of them, like maybe they want to do a 5K, or maybe they want to do a bike thing, bike race. There's a concept you had in the book called the back of the packer, and I think this is really, really important. Can you explain what that is, and kind of the mindset that it gives you when you kind of accept that reality?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many of us who are back of the packers. I mean, these are people who may never podium unless they're the only ones in their age group. They have the possibility of being swept off the course. There's always that possibility. If you can't make it within a certain amount of time, you get swept. And the thing about being a back of the packer is that, I think also in my book, one of the people I quoted said, "Back of the packers have more fun." And, in a way we do, because we take this as a competition against ourselves and not so much other people. I mean, yes, in the beginning, you get intimidated. You feel like, one of the things that I write about in the book, I talk about Becky, a friend of mine, and she was a marathon runner. And I was intimidated by her because she was a marathon runner. I thought she'd be better than me. She'd be faster than me. She had more endurance than me. And when we ended up running together, we were the same pace. So, I think that we need to kind of get that out of our heads, that it's a bad thing to be a back of the packer, because it's not a bad thing. It's, we have fun doing what we do, and we love it just as much as the elite or middle of the packers. And again, we just really compete against ourselves.
Yeah, there is a lot more talking going on in the back of the pack than there is in the front. I can tell you that.
Yes.
Now you practiced a method. I've had Jeff Galloway on the show before, and I actually use his method a lot with my clients in coaching. Can you talk about his run, walk, run method that you use?
Yeah. So I hired, well, Jeff actually, he was my coach for the 2016 marathon. I was first introduced to it a couple of years before, but I really didn't get it right until he started coaching me. And when he coached me, he taught me that the shorter I run, the faster I will run. So if I'm running 5 seconds, or if I'm running 10 seconds and I'm walking 30 seconds, I'm going to run those 5 seconds or those 10 seconds much faster than I would normally do if I'm not doing the run walk. So maybe I'll do it at a 8-minute mile, but so, and then I'll walk at a steady, easy pace. And since then, I did the marathon using his method. I did 15-second run, 30-second walk the entire way. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay around 14-minute miles. And after that, I guess it was back in 2017, I started working for Jeff as one of his program directors, and I started teaching the method because I wanted to give back to, people here on Long Island. And, we also, it started as a beginner group. We started at 5 seconds, and then we went to 10, and then we went to 15. And even today, with a lot of I have runners who are elite runners, I have beginner runners, I have middle of the packer runners, and we're all doing the same exact thing. We're all going at it, easy 15-second run, 30-second walk for our long runs, and we run together. And the thing about it is, as you said before, with the back of the packers, you get to really talk to people and you get to really know who they are and all about them. And these people that are part of my We Are Endurance group are some of the closest friends that I have. I mean, I just absolutely love these people. And they've been my groupies on my book tours. They've been coming to every one of them. It's really very, very nice.
Oh, cool. Another key aspect of Jeff Galloway's run, walk, run is that for that 15 seconds, even though you're running faster, you're not redlining. You're pushing yourself right up to a point. You're not letting yourself get winded. So that 30 seconds off is just a really good break to let everything kind of slow down, the heart rate go down a little bit, and then you're in a good position to go again for those 15. Again, just right up to the line, and then you're off. And that's why you're choosing 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds each, just finding your interval is really important, because you'll just know, okay, if I run about this fast, I'm not going to red line, and then I can ease back.
Well, once you do the magic mile and you determine and the magic mile is basically running around the track 4 times and then determining what your speed is. And you could either take walk breaks or not take walk breaks. You could just run it out. You take that time and you put it into, you put it into a formula, and you could actually determine what your race pace is, what your, long training runs are, and that type of thing. And that's really helpful. Like, I've got these people who, some of them are like running 7-minute miles using this method. It's incredible. So it's not just for slow people. It's for anybody who wants to, put that recovery break into their runs.
Yeah. Now, another core aspect to this is that you didn't play around. You've had coaches, you've had teams, you kind of always had this support network. Can you talk about what that means to you and how you went about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I first hired a coach, I mean, I didn't want to hire a coach. My friend Becky said, we have to hire coaches. We don't know what we're doing. We have to hire coaches. And so I called up a friend of mine who I knew was an Ironman, and I was so impressed with her. And I asked her if she would coach me. And she said, I'm really not qualified for that, but you could call my coach. And I did. And I hired this guy, Coach Ritchie, for the first year. And he really taught me everything about triathlons. And then the following year after that, I ended up switching coaches and I went with somebody who was a little bit more supportive, Coach Danielle. And Coach Danielle, I have been with her since 2015. I still hire her every month to coach me. Even though I'm a qualified, I'm also a USA triathlon coach. I still have my own coach. That's important to me to have a coach. And, I've been working with her and I definitely have seen significant improvements. She was a pro triathlete and she's, just a wonderful person. So she just really makes me feel good about what I'm doing. And that's what I think a good coach is, that balance between feeling really good about what you're doing and structuring your workouts.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to call your coach up or to visit your coach, and when they start asking about how this particular workout went, and you don't really have an answer because you didn't do that workout, you don't want to say that, So it holds you accountable and kind of keeps you moving forward. Now, there was another concept, and you didn't really write about it so much as you demonstrated it in most of the stories about a race or something you were going to do. Like you talked, there's chances of you being swept because you were going to time out. There are times when things are just not working out well for you because of the conditions, but you always seem to have this internal drive to stick it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been doing a lot of book tours, and people have been asking me about that. The other day I was asked, you had a horrible year this year. How did you keep going? Like, what's your drive? How do you get yourself to do this? And I guess for me, I've always, when I was a child, I always felt like I was being put down, even by my parents, by my teachers. I never felt like anybody was encouraging me. So I had to reach within myself to get that encouragement. And for me, when somebody says to me, you can't, or if I feel like I can't do something, I make it my business that I can do it. Like it's almost like a crazy motivator, but that motivates me to keep going, even though the obstacles are against me. I mean, I was swimming a 5.5 mile swim. It was supposed to be 5.5 miles from Fire Island to Bayshore. It's a pretty long swim in open water, and the currents were like ridiculously choppy, and big wakes like I couldn't even see. And I asked my son to be my kayaker, but I didn't really understand the race, and I didn't realize that I really should have had an experienced kayaker with me. He had only gone on like a little pond that didn't have any kind of current, so he didn't really know how to deal with it. And we ended up getting drifted. We drifted way off. We were about a mile and a half off course, and the volunteers had to come get us and direct us back to where we were supposed to swim. And the swim time cutoff was 4 hours. I was like, and the crazy thing was that my Garmin stopped working for like an hour and a half. So I'm thinking that I have all this time to get in. And in reality, I was so close to the end. I was the last one. I mean, the boats were following me in. But I did it, and even though my arm stopped, it stopped working. I couldn't even get my arm over my shoulder at one point. I was exhausted. I mean, I crossed that finish line. I can't even do this, but I did it. And it felt so good. And I think that that's the driving thing, is when you finish these races, you feel so good. You feel so high. You feel like you've got this, you've got the world, you've got the whole world on your shoulder. I mean, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're doing is you're kind of tapping into this inner rebel, that you have. You're finding your inner strength. And for you, that's as a rebel.
Mhm.
And you just say, well, no, that if I think I can't do this, well, I'm going to prove myself wrong. If someone else tells me I can't do this, I'm going to prove them wrong. So, Hilary, I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
I would say for me, it's be consistent. Just be consistent. Just get out there, do what you need to do, right? You have a schedule, stick to it. And that's one thing a lot of people don't do. And for me, I find like it's become almost an addiction for me. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up, I'm ready to go. And I'll either swim, bike, or run. Right. So one would be consistent. 2 would be to eat right and to drink water and to, really try to get those macronutrients in you. Don't feel like, don't stray from that. Like once you start eating junk food, you really feel it when you're training. Not good. And then the third thing I've been trying to do, and this may sound a little strange, but I've been trying to meditate, really just relax my mind. Even though I feel like when I'm working out and when I'm training for triathlon, it's my time, it's me time. I still feel like I need to just take that stuff out of my head and just relax and meditate. And I take 10 minutes or whatever a day just to calm everything down and feel good. And that helps. It really does.
Thank you for sharing that. Hilary, if someone wanted to learn more about you and learn more about your book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete, where would you like for me to send them?
Sure. If you would like to get a copy of the book, you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or any of the Barnes and Noble retail stores out there. You can just ask for it. To get in touch with me, I have 2 blogs and also a podcast. My blog is hilarytopper.com. It's Hilary with 1 L. And my other blog is atriathletesdiary.com. And that was how the book actually formed, was from that blog. And you can get in touch with me from either one of those blogs. Even if you just type in my name on Google, Hilary Topper, I come right up and you can get in touch with me. And my email, I think, is up there too. So it's hilary@hjmt.com.
All right. Thank you so much for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Well, thank you so much, Alan. I so appreciate you having me on the show.
Welcome back, Raz.
Hey, Alan, what a fun interview, and right up my alley too. Couch potato to endurance athlete. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Hilary sounds like a neat lady.
Yeah, and one of the kind of the cool things about her story is that if you think you can't, then you can't, and if you think you can, then you can. And it's a Ford quote. And the whole point being is, your brain, your mindset is going to take you where you go. And so when she decided she was going to start doing things, was just started doing things. And then she realized, okay, I'm not great at this, but I enjoy the process and I enjoy the doing. And so she kept pushing herself a little bit and pushing herself a little bit. And I couldn't fathom swimming over 5 miles.
I know, that is crazy. I know.
And she didn't just swim the 5 miles because she got off course. She literally swam probably 7-8 miles when she was only planning on swimming that. Now, a story she didn't tell was, I guess apparently where you wear a wetsuit and you're swimming that long, there's a whole lot of chafing going on. And we know that as runners, there's a whole lot of chafing going on. Well, it's the wetsuit. I couldn't even imagine. But yeah, so she changed everything, and she was not a spring chicken when she did it.
Well, no, and that's what I absolutely love. There's actually a lot of us endurance athletes don't really get started until our 40s and 50s. And she mentioned that she started running at the age of 48. So just sit for a second, 48. that you're right. That's not a spring chicken. And, not that 48 is old. I'm 51 and I certainly don't feel old, but, it is absolutely later in life. And you don't have to be a collegiate athlete, or you don't have to have run track in high school or something to enjoy different activities, different sports in these later years. And the fact that she's done so well, especially in the triathlon, as well as with swimming is incredible. I mean, there's a lot of older athletes out there. There's something to be said for getting started a little later in life.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't call this an instructional manual. I mean, she puts in some little tidbits in there that would definitely help you as you're going through this process. She gives some really good tips, but the book is really a motivational tome. I mean, it's really built around, okay, here's what I did. Here's what my struggles were. Here's how I overcame them. And here's what I accomplished, and here's what I learned. And so, it's if you're sitting on the couch and you're thinking, I really need to do something, this is probably a great book to get you thinking, wait, this woman just did that. And, she was not that far removed from a similar couch,
For sure.
And she had all this stuff happening too. She had a career, she had a family, she had all the things that you think might be holding you back. She's making the time and she's getting it done.
I think that's wonderful. It's just, I think a lot of people look at like the Olympic athletes. They're all young people. They're in their teens and 20s.
No, but there are a lot now that are hanging around,
There are.
And you're looking at Tom Brady's still playing football at 43. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
So things are changing, people are building a capacity and they're keeping that capacity longer. And so those should be your inspirations to say, when 80-year-old man's climbing Everest,
yep,
I got no excuse. I got no excuse.
For sure. Well, the second misconception too is that we're all Boston qualifying or triathlon Kona attending athletes, and you guys spent some time discussing being in the back of the pack, and you can find so much strength as well as enjoyment in these sports without having to stand on a podium. It's not that we're out there to win. We're out there to accomplish something. And even if it's competing against ourselves, getting a PR or just doing something we've never done before, there's so much excitement to that. And no, you do not have to be super fast, super strong, super anything. You just need to get out there and do it.
Yeah. And a lot of those races, like the New York Marathon, the Boston Marathon, they have lotteries. They allow a certain number of runners that wouldn't qualify, back of the packers, if you will. So if you have aspirations to say, well, I'd love to go to Boston and run the Boston Marathon, you can put your name in.
Yeah.
Just put your name in. Well, you never know. And so as they get slots and they grant you a slot, then book your airline and go. Or just book your airline in the hopes it happens, and then just enjoy Boston during that time of the year, same thing.
For sure.
But, so yeah, I think that's the core of it, is just, she has the right mindset to know, where she is in the world, and know that, okay, she's getting the joy out of just knowing that she's pushing herself to do something. And when she completes it, again, that no one can take that away from her.
Absolutely. This is a great motivational book. It sounds like a good read.
It is.
Good.
All right. Well, Rich, I'll talk to you next week then.
Sounds great. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And before we close out this episode, if you're not making the progress you want because something seems to be blocking you, go to 40plusfitness.com/quiz to take the What's Your Health Blocker quiz. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Joseph Keon and discuss his book, The Alzheimer's Revolution, an evidence-based lifestyle program to build cognitive resilience and reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.